Today, I really want to talk about finding yourself after leaving a high demand religion because it is just hard. Hey, what's up, guys? It's ex-mormon with My Spiritual Life. If you're new to my channel, basically, I left Mormonism, which was the religion I grew up in, and now I'm trying to figure out who the fuck I am. Leaving a religion is hard, but the hard doesn't stop there. Like it's hard trying to rediscover who you are and to really find yourself, to understand yourself, to feel like you can be you when you've spent your whole life not really knowing who you were, and not only not knowing who you were, but like feeling like you weren't supposed to be who maybe you felt like you are or you want to be or that you should be. Anyway, let's figure that out. One thing I wanted to bring up with this topic is that I feel like when you grow up in a high demand religion, you have kind of these layers of your identity that are involved in the religion. So overall, obviously, just being a part of a religion is a big part of someone's identity. Your belief system is a big part of how you define yourself, and how you define yourself dictates what you do with your life and with your time. It makes a big impact. So just being Mormon my whole life was a huge identity thing for me. I grew up in St. Louis, and in St. Louis, there's like 3 Mormons, and I was one of them. Okay, there's a few more than that, but not very many. And when I was done with high school, I went to BYU, Idaho immediately. And when I did, I realized how meaningless I felt, because Mormonism was part of my identity and it made me unique. Because in St. Louis, I seriously was one of the only Mormons that I knew, other than people in my ward. And I went to school and did other activities and stuff, and it made me stand out. And I realized that it made me feel unique and important. And I didn't realize how much that really impacted my identity until I went to BYU, Idaho, where everyone was Mormon. And at first I thought it was so exciting to be surrounded by people that get me. But then I realized I felt like I was just one in a million. Like I didn't have my own thing to set me apart anymore. So then I left the church so I could be set apart again. Just kidding. That's not what happened. Anyway, I realized my identity was really wrapped up in being Mormon. So then there's layers to this, right? Because if you grew up a certain religion, not only is it that religion is part of your identity and part of who you are, but what that religion dictates should be part of your identity is also part of your identity. So like being raised Mormon, like a good example would be being a mother or being a wife, as a woman. Those things, even after leaving Mormonism, those layers of my identity, I realized were still really causing me to struggle to figure out who I really was. Because I left Mormonism, but then my identity was still super wrapped up in being a wife and being a mother. And I like being those things. I think they're good things to be, and I think you should do them well. But also, I'm not just those things. I'm not just a wife and a mom. And I realized that the more I let those labels kind of envelop my life, the more depressed I get, because I feel like I don't really matter outside of these certain responsibilities. So, especially in the last year of my life, I've really been trying to figure out who I am, to identify like labels for myself, the interests, hobbies, and things that define me in a way that feels good to me, because I've felt very lost. After leaving Mormonism, I really leaned into the ex-mormon label, which a lot of us do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But eventually that label is still a label that is keeping you from feeling fulfilled in life. Because that's one thing that was so hard about Mormonism, was that you felt like you had to be this certain way, even if you didn't want to be, even if it didn't feel right to you. And it's kind of the same thing with being ex-Mormon. It's like you start to feel like, okay, like eventually you get tired of listening to podcasts talking about it, but you feel like you have to because you don't know who you are without it. You don't know who you are. You didn't know who you were as a Mormon, and that doesn't change just because you become ex-Mormon. You still don't know who you are, And you're probably leaning into that ex-Mormon identity to try to give you some solid footing on what you should be spending your time doing or thinking. Eventually, it just gets tiresome. It gets tiresome, and eventually you want to branch out and figure out who you are and what you like to do and what you want out of life, and maybe even make friends with people who've never been Mormon, because that feels so good, guys. That feels so refreshing to me right now in my life when I'm hanging out with people that have never been Mormon or ex-Mormon or, any of that. It is so refreshing because it's this feeling of like, I can just be myself. I don't have to talk about the past. I don't have to think about it. I can just be Morgan. I can just be me. And I still don't know who me is, but I'm trying to figure it out. Anyway, I have some questions that I've been thinking about in the last year. I wrote them down. I'm going to read them to you guys, and then I'm going to answer them a little bit to give you some insight into how I'm trying to unpack these different identities so that I can start to feel more like me. And I guess that's the hope, right? You leave Mormonism not just because it's not true, but because you want to go on a journey to find yourself, right? To see what your purpose in life is, what matters to you, what interests you, and actually get to pursue those things instead of kind of boxing yourself up in the way that you were taught to just fit in, right? And I find that the more I unpack myself and the more I try to do things that I want to do with my life for me, the more fulfilled I feel and the more excited I feel about life, which is really cool. Like breaking it down to the very basics before I get into this, in the last year, I have taken so much time to just write down hobbies I like and hobbies I don't like, because I felt like I really had broken myself down and realized that there was so much I didn't understand about myself that I was literally what do I like to do? I like to paint. I like to sing. I was literally trying to figure out who I was through what I liked to do, which was really interesting. And I'm still trying to figure it out, and I'm sure I'll continue to find more things I like to do. Yeah, so I highly recommend, if you've left a high demand religion, or I think everyone can somewhat be brainwashed by society to just try to fit into a certain box. So I highly recommend start with the basics. If you're trying to figure out who you are, if you want more meaning out of life, start with the basics. What do I like to do? Why? Okay, so here's my deeper questions for you. When leaving a high demand religion or any kind of, I guess, cult, it could be political, whatever, just leaving any kind of ideology. And, after that, you should ask yourself, who am I without this religion, this, group of people, this community, this belief, whatever it is? Who am I without this? And my next question is, who am I without my career or my relationships to others? And the reason I added that question in there is because I think it bounces off this first question, because my immediate reaction in answering who am I without this religion is be wife and mom. But then I'm but that's who I am to other people. Who am I to me, and who am I without a career? Because hopefully you're not just someone who's married to someone or someone who's a parent of someone. And those are good things. But again, who are you without those things? Don't you want to know? And same with career. Who am I without this career? Because again, you could be awesome at your career, but hopefully that's still not the full picture of who you are. There's got to be something deeper than just those things. Okay, the next question is, what is my purpose? And this one's a big question to try to start answering when you leave a high demand religion, because if you don't feel like you have purpose in life, you can be really drawn toward getting depressed, toward getting very nihilistic, nothing matters, and just feeling really lost. So it's important to ask yourself, what is my purpose, or what do I even want my purpose to be? And then the last question I had for this video was, what do I want out of life? What do I want out of life, and why? And so I've really spent the last year trying to think about these things, but I'm going to give you guys some basic answers that I've had to these questions, and more questions that I still have about the questions about myself. Okay, so who am I without this religion? Immediately, like, my brain goes to, like, mom and wife, of course. But then I was trying to think of other things about myself, and I wrote musician, because if you don't know, I really love playing music. I play a little bit of piano, guitar, and violin, and I love it. And I've been playing more recently and finding people to play with, and it's been, like, healing to my soul. It's been very, very uplifting to pursue these hobbies that mean a lot to me. So that's been cool. I also wrote, so, like, who am I without this religion? I wrote that I think I'm a fun person. Like, I think I'm someone who is trying to get out and do fun things. I think I'm someone who's funny sometimes. Sometimes I just think I'm funny, but that's fine. I think I'm someone who's a deep thinker. Like, I like thinking about life and the purpose of it and what matters. And I like thinking about, getting the root cause of my personal issues. So I think that's a big part of who I am. Yeah, those are some things that have come to my mind, but I still feel very lost. Like, I definitely still feel like I don't know who I am. And it makes it difficult when I hang out with people because I'm always, like, trying to figure out how to act because I don't know who I am. But I think I'm at this point in my life where I'm having, like, a pretty big identity crisis as I'm really letting go of Mormonism and ex-Mormonism and letting go of just, like, realizing I'm not just a mom and a wife. And so I think I'm in a kind of a difficult place with that right now, but I think it will keep getting better. Okay, so who am I without my job or relationships to others? And I think it still comes back to some of those other issues or other topics I brought up. Like, I'm a musician. I like music. I'm a YouTuber. Oh, that's a job. Kind of, I guess. Oh, I enjoy it. I'm a creative person. I think I like creating things. I like making things. I like teaching. I like understanding how people work. I find that very interesting. Yeah. Okay, what is my purpose? Now, this is something I'm still wrestling with super hard, but I think what I've been learning is that in life, whether you believe in a religion or not, responsibility can give you a lot of purpose. And so if you can give yourself some meaning, if you want to give yourself meaning in life, give yourself some responsibility, whether it's of yourself or others or some cause. I think it's important that we all have something we're striving toward that gives us meaning. And the cool thing is, after leaving a high demand religion, you get to decide what that thing is. But that's also the scary thing about leaving a high demand religion is you have to decide what is going to bring you purpose. And I think that's a big problem that I have since leaving Mormonism is just like I'm waiting for someone to tell me what my purpose is again. Like I'm still waiting for someone else to tell me what to do with my life or what I should do with my life or what matters or what I think should matter. And that is hard. I guess it's like I don't really view myself as having the authority to like know what purpose I should have. I almost want like God to come out of the sky, and I don't even know if I believe in God. I lean toward believing him. I have a hard time with this still figuring it out. I just want God, if he exists, to come out of the sky and be like, Morgan, this is your purpose. Here it is. Just go do it. And I want that really bad. But I know that that's not going to happen. And I know that if I keep waiting around for it to happen, I'm going to waste my time not doing things that are good and not doing things that I want to do because I'm waiting for someone to tell me what it is that I actually want. I think the best way to figure out what you want is to think about what you want and to try going for it and see if that's actually working for you. Anyway, so what is my purpose? I think my own personal purpose, I think I like to think about like trying to heal from the past, trying to heal like my own trauma so that I feel like I can be myself, so that I can pursue things I want to pursue. I think that's a big part of what I view as my own personal purpose. And then I have different purposes, I feel like, for being a mom and a wife. But talking about me more personally, I think my purpose outside of myself, I would like to think is to try to inspire others to heal and move forward from the past. Because I think in my life, what I've seen is the more I've dove into the past and unpacked it and understood myself and, kind of gave myself that love and peace that I was looking for, getting closure around things, the more I've felt like I could do things I wanted to do, like I could let go of guilt, and like I could just move forward and feel more excited about life. And so if I can imagine a purpose outside of myself and outside of like my immediate family, it would be like to try to inspire people to do that as well, to help them on that journey as well. Because I think there's been a lot of people that have helped me heal, and I want to try to help others to heal as well. Yeah, so that's still a huge work in progress, but it's something. It's a hypothesis of sorts. Okay, so that last question, what do I want out of life and why? And this is a really interesting one to answer as like an ex-religious person, because your religion likely told you everything you should want out of life. If you were a guy, you should want a career, you should want to provide for your family. And if you're a woman, you should want to be a mother. And that those might not be things that you actually want. And you have to think about that. You have to think really hard about that to be sure that even if you think you want it, that you're not just kind of thinking you should want it because of that like Mormon conditioning, if that makes sense. Under what do I want out of life and why? The first thing I did right is a family. Because I do really enjoy being married and having kids. I really enjoy that lifestyle. I find it very purposeful and exciting and fun. And I love being there with my kids, and I love watching them grow. Yeah, I really love being a mother. I also don't want my identity to be too sucked up into that. Like I'm not something outside of a mother, because I am. I just don't know exactly who I am yet, but I'm figuring it out. Okay, what do I want out of life and why? Not just a family, but I really want a meaningful career, which right now, I'm still in the process of pursuing YouTube, still trying to figure out what I want from this channel. And I think it's very much reflected in my personal life, because it's like I'm still trying to figure out what I want out of life, which leads me to not knowing what to post a lot of times, because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I want. All I know is I'm just tired of bitching about Mormonism all the time. And again, that's no diss to anyone that's newly out of the church. I just think it's a healthy aim to get to a point where it's not the only topic of conversation. I'll never stop talking about Mormonism altogether, I'm sure, but I love feeling like it's not my only topic of conversation or meaning. And of course, that's not to rush anyone either. Like, you have to go through that phase. You have to be angry, and it has to somewhat kind of envelop your life as you unpack it all. And so, no rush. The only other thing I wrote under this for now was like what I want out of life is opportunities for creativity. I just find it very fulfilling to create things, to make things. Ever since I was like a kid, I was actually making YouTube videos like when I was a teenager, like 14. We'd make like Harry Potter spoofs and stuff. Hopefully you guys will never find those.
Hermione, close the door. We have to make it to the other side of the room without making any noises. I got this. Hermione. Shh. I have to be quiet.
And I've always been someone who's just enjoyed making things, creating things, writing things. And so when I think about what do I want out of life, I want to continue to find opportunities to create, because I think that fills my soul. I don't know if souls are real, but I swear I can feel what feels good to my possible existence of a soul. And I think that we all have that. I wonder if we all have that. Comment if you have it or don't have it. I think we all have things in life that feel meaningful to us. And it's different for everyone, which is kind of cool, because it's that uniqueness that we all have. And I think the more we can pursue those things that fulfill our soul, the more we actually live life instead of just like experience life, Yeah. And I'm excited to be on this journey where I'm continuing to learn who I am and what I like and what I want out of life. And as I do that, I can find more ways to fulfill my soul, like fulfill that kind of like purpose, that void, you know, that we all kind of have there. Yeah, so I am, just trying to figure my crap out, and it's, I guess some people think that might be interesting, so there you go. Hit the like button and subscribe, and check me out on TikTok, because that's kind of a thing I'm trying out, so we'll see how that goes. All right, everybody. Peace.